All right, everybody, welcome back to our Tri-State Training Day podcast. I got Angie Brannon on with me, and she's just sunflowery all the time. She just brings the rays. And so excited to have you on the podcast, Angie. You've done a lot since the last time we spoke, talking about your numbers progressing and like where you are as an individual agent, providing for your family, and doing the things that you need to do to make sure your business is successful year in and year out. I'm very impressed. Thank you for jumping on the podcast with us today. How are you?
I'm blessed and grateful. Thank you. And how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. When I look at your numbers, I look at your story, I look at kind of like what you've done to solidify yourself as a full-time agent, making money and being a force to be reckoned with, and making sure you're living the life you want. I think it's very impressive from a standpoint of the accountability you have to the business and to yourself. And so, can you walk us down a path of like how you've evolved at FFL from when you started to where you are right now, and some of the things that you've put into place to have the consistency you're having? Right before this started, I was asking, hey, are you hitting the Hall of Fame this year or not? Because you're already, 100 families into the year, 4 months into the year. So I'd love to hear from you about how you've normalized this and some of the things you're doing now.
It's just routine, consistency, and making sure that I have enough lead flow to be able to keep my numbers where they're at, my contact ratio, and just staying consistent. Really, I get up every morning. I look forward to sitting at my desk and seeing as many people as I can help.
Got it. And so that has to come down to when you say routine, okay, that is the key word. I mean, routine and consistency both work, but routine means, hey, man, this is what I do. These are the days I do it. It's not cute. It's not, it's not flashy, but this is what I do. So can you walk us through that routine and what a successful routine looks like?
So I feel like a successful routine starts off with, starting your day early, um, getting a little bit of me time in before I sit down and work, whether it's meditating or saying a prayer, um, and then just sitting down and doing my dials or starting my appointments. It's
Just
kind of boring.
well, I mean, routine is boring, but
Yeah.
it's like that's how you become successful. You're having success, and so
Hmm.
the success that you're having is, listen. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and they were talking about buying boring businesses, and I was like, you know, that's a cute term. I know it's a marketing term, but what's a boring business? You know what a boring business is? On Google, insurance.
No. Oh, is it really?
Insurance, HVAC, or, accounting businesses, these businesses that are super routine, but they're boring. But guess what? They're buyable businesses, right?
Yeah.
Because the routine of what they do creates what seems to be boring the most. But I know, because my routine wasn't that fun either, that the consistency of that routine created a financial freedom that I longed for, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be, flashy. Doesn't have to be sexy. It just needs to work. And so
Right.
it's working for you. You know,
Yeah.
what days are you actually working, and what days do you decide you want to take off?
So I'm working 5.5 days a week, Monday through Saturday. I do take Sunday off. Um, my son actually had his birthday on April 6th, so it did fall on a Saturday, and I decided to take that day off to, spend for him. But I like to grind day in and day out. I look forward to it. I love coming to sit at my desk and I enjoy helping people. That's what keeps me going, is that serving and helping of other people.
I love it. Now, when you say, it's funny you say, my son had his birthday, I decided. Like, in today's, like, have you ever not decided
Not decided
to
to, what do
work
you mean, work?
on a kid's birthday?
No.
Yeah, you have the option to decide.
Y- Yeah, I have, right. Yeah. So I don't need to like ask my employer. I don't have one. I
Hmm.
am my own employer. I don't need to ask someone for the time off. I just need to ask myself, right?
Right, but what makes it actually make sense to me, because what you just said is great. I don't have an employer. I just have to ask myself. The only way that makes sense is if you have money coming in. Because people
Right.
do what you do, Angie, every day. There's independent agents all over the country. They don't make as much money as you, but they ask themselves every day, should I take off? And they do. They take off every day. They take off, they work 4 hours a day. They worked, from 8 to 10 and said, this is a little stressful. I need to go take it down. Or they work, 8 to 6 on Monday and go, wow, that was a hard day. I need Tuesday off. You don't do that. So what makes it easy when you ask yourself, can I have the day off? The answer is yes. It's because of the consistency you've already created. It's not because of this flippant kind of I do whatever I want deal. I mean, that's not what I'm
Mm.
getting from you. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, life is stressful, right? Do I want to work a 9 to 5, or do I want to grind the day out for myself? I would much rather grind the day out for myself than make someone else's pockets fatter,
How'd you get to that conclusion?
because I was in the 9 to 5. I did the W-2. Um, I always felt that I was meant for something greater for myself and for my family. And so I did it.
And so, what made insurance the vehicle for that? Because you could have done a lot of things. If the itch was, hey, I don't want to work 9 to 5, I want to work for myself, no problem. You could have done a million things. Why insurance?
I love helping other people, protecting their family's future, their financial future, and creating generational wealth. That itself is is crucial and rewarding.
Got it. Makes sense. And so, what is your clientele goal per week? Like, do you have a certain number of appointments? Or is it all one call close? Do you have a certain number of people you want to help, families you want to help per week? Do you have a certain amount of premium you want to sell? How do you structure your week from a goal perspective?
My goal is to at least help at least one family a day. I'm trying to book at least 30 appointments a week. I'm trying. Um, but I'm not doing the one call close with the IUL appointments. I'm doing like an intro call, and then I'm booking to a Zoom meeting.
Okay. So the intro is a phone call?
Yeah, my intro call is like, hey Mark, this is Angie Brannon. Um, you had requested some information about an IUL. And I kind of get into a little bit from there. And um, I'm like, hey, would you like to? When is a good time for you and I to hop on a Zoom meeting to see how all this works? To take a look at an illustration.
Now, are you peeking their in? Now, so you say IUL. Do they even know what that is when they talk, when you say that?
Do they know what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of coming in a little bit educated, the lead, they're already a little bit educated on what an IUL is and what it does. I'm just kind of tuning tuning that in, dialing it in, refining it, and see if they qualify for one too, right?
100%. Now, there's got to be stuff you're saying. Is it as simple as booking it, or are you whetting their appetite for kind of what's to come?
A little bit of both. I think when they can see what it looks like, it's just going to make more sense to them instead of trying to close that call right then and
Right.
there. because an IUO is really a big deal,
Hmm.
right? You want to make sure that they're structured properly and for that client's needs and requests.
Yeah, it makes
That's so important.
no doubt. And so, what are some of the? Are you asking qualifying questions on that first call?
It depends on the lead or where I'm getting the lead. So sometimes the lead will have the height and weight, whether they're a smoker, non-smoker, and if they're on any medications. And that kind of the medication question breaks the ice. Okay, what kind of medications are you on? Um, and then from there, I'll crunch the numbers amongst the different companies depending on the situation to see if that company is even going to, qualify that client.
Got it. Are you mainly working with IULs?
Yeah, I'm still throwing a little bit of final expense in the mix. But the IULs are really keeping me busy. And I like that. Not that final expense wasn't keeping me busy. It was just a little bit harder of when you're doing telesales. It was a little more of a challenge to get the people on the phone, and you got to do the one call close there because if you're booking an appointment with them, most of the time they're not coming back.
On the final expense side,
Yeah, yeah.
right? There's not enough to keep their interest, but on the IUL side, there's enough to keep their interest.
Enough. I mean, there are people who stand you up and look, life happens. I get it. Most of the time they'll reschedule, you'll get them back, and sometimes, you won't, and that's okay too.
And that's why you have 30 appointments a week. Yes.
I'm trying for 30 appointments. I'm trying. I'm trying to close, help at least one family every day.
Okay. And what do you typically? So if it's not 30 yet, what are you typically averaging per week?
About 20 appointments.
Okay. And all of the what do you say your show ratio is on those? When you after you book the appointment, how many of those? So if you get 20 appointments, how many of those
Mhm.
actually do you book appointments for?
So one to three out of the 20. So if I'm trying to break down like a day, if I've had 6 appointments, 4 or 5 show up,
All right.
and yeah. And most of the time out of those 4 or 5 people that show up, I'm closing at least 3 or 4.
So 75% show and a
Yeah,
75% close ratio on your show ratio.
yeah.
That's very strong.
Oh, when you're seeing someone face to face and you're breaking down that illustration and you're explaining it, a light bulb kind of clicks for that. It just makes sense.
Right.
It's kind of a no-brainer.
And what are your go-to IUL products?
I like F&G.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an F&G fan.
How much of that stuff is getting done with no med?
With what? No med?
Yeah, non-med, no medical.
No, with like your blood and urine for the client?
Yeah, how much of it is getting done with their um, fast track program, whatever it's called?
So it isn't real fast with F&G. It
Hmm.
is a slower process to get the approval. Um, I don't have, so for my older clients where an IUL may not be making sense, I'm trying to present an annuity.
Okay.
Or maybe a whole life option. Depends, right?
Right.
Totally depends on that whole situation. Um, but usually there's a telephone interview involved. Yeah, they don't close real fast at this time, Mark. They are working on it. But I believe in the product. I believe in the company. I like what they're doing.
I love it. It was working.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Angie Brannon, dropping gems. I think her process is extremely simple. It's working. It's duplicatable, and you can use it for your success as well. Thank you for sharing with us, Angie.
Thanks for having me, Mark. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. God bless y'all. Keep listening. Take care.